This episode is sponsored by Property Filter. Find great deals faster.
Hello and welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast, sponsored by us at Property Portfolio Building. This podcast is designed by real people on their journey to achieving financial freedom, and we'll focus on people who've either already attained it, who are joining us on that journey, or maybe a specialist topic that can help you build your technical knowledge to achieving and maintaining that financial freedom. We hope you enjoy it. Welcome back to the Financial Freedom Podcast, sponsored by us at Property Portfolio Building. On today's episode, we've got a focus on a guest who is well on their way to achieving their own financial freedom through their investment assets. It's also a client guest, so we're delighted to be able to run through a live case study with one of the developments that we've done on behalf of our guest today. So without further ado, I would like to say a huge welcome to Yoni Fine.
Good afternoon.
Welcome. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Yoni, Yoni has joined us all the way up from London today. Train crisis averted on the way. We're filming this in Manchester, so thanks very much for making the effort. Buy-to-let landlord, pretty snazzy job as well. I'm sure you're going to go into traveling the world, that kind of thing. And obviously a family. So we're going to talk about that in greater depth. So, but the icebreaker is the question is a fact that we like to start off with. And I believe that you were a tour guide in Windsor Castle.
That's right. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, we're talking a long time ago. Despite my looks, it was a very long time ago. I used to live in Windsor and Eton.
Okay.
Back in mid-late 80s, early 90s. And I was a volunteer at Windsor Castle doing some tours. It started off, when friends and family came to visit us. Yeah. We would, take them around, walk them around, show them the sights, that kind of thing. And did a little bit more inquiry into it, and was able to get myself a part-time volunteer job taking people around the castle.
And how old were you at this point?
Say 14, 15.
14, 15, yeah. So your first job?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a job as such, but yeah.
It was voluntary work.
Yeah, it was voluntary work. So
yeah.
They paid me for it, but yeah, it was good fun. It was good fun. Saw Prince Andrew from time to time, driving up the long walk. So for all of those that remember the big wedding 6 years ago, Harry and Meghan, going up the long walk. So I used to walk the dog there, but I also used to see a couple of the royals going up there from time to time. Used to ride my bike to Ascot. So I used to see some nice sights, and yeah, it was a great place to live. But
beautiful part of the world, right?
Yeah, beautiful, stunning part of the world.
And when people think of the UK, the first thing they think of is London, and the second thing is the places like Windsor.
That's right.
And we're the royal family in Manchester, and the royal family. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're not helping that case study there. You just hobnobbing with Windsor Castle and hanging around with the royals. Yeah, there you go. All right.
Don't ask me how we even ended up there, because my parents used to live in North London.
Right, okay.
For many years, and then all of a sudden we're living in Windsor and Eton. But yeah, anyway, it was a great experience from what I remember of it. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so we'll crack on with the first question. So the first question is all about you, and it is simply, tell me your story.
Wow, okay, where do I start? I was living in Berkshire, where I grew up, and obviously went to school, went to university up in Leeds.
Tell me a bit more about school life. What did that look like?
School life. I moved around quite a bit because we were living in Berkshire, up in Windsor, and then we moved to North London.
It's a few different schools, yeah.
A few different schools. Again, don't ask me why, but my parents my family like to change things up all the time. But so growing up, I was in Windsor and Eton, and then towards my later teenage years, moved to North London, moved schools a few times, which is a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, of course.
You make friends and then you move and trying to make different friends can be challenging, but you get through it. Didn't particularly enjoy school, to be honest with you. I was not the most academic. Always tried hard, but didn't really like school that much. But who does? And then went to uni up in Leeds. Phenomenal time for 3 years, and then came back to London, worked for a year, went back.
What did you study?
Studied computing.
Right.
Not the most interesting of degrees, if I'm honest with you, but I had a great time up there.
Leeds is cool, right? Leeds is a cool place.
Great place, and it's changed so much in the last 20 years. I graduated in 2004, and that was including a year of working in for a bank.
So we were living in Leeds at the same time then?
Well,
I was around 2004.
In 2003, I moved back to London, did a work placement for an investment bank, which was fun. And then they made me redundant halfway through that, or 3/4 of all the way through it. That was an interesting time, but you know what? It was a learning experience. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to stay here. They've made me redundant, but I'm going to work for free for a few months, see out that 12-month kind of contract that I had. Got a free laptop at the end of it, which was nice. Actually, 2.
They didn't know about the second one.
No, it was all good. It was all good. So that was great. Hobnobbing with these rich bankers whilst doing my degree, and all my friends at uni at the time. How did you get that job? I just applied. Like I did. I did about 20, 30 applications to all sorts of industries. I was doing a computing degree, right? So
quite
anywhere
broad.
I could get a job and get paid for it. And it just so happened it was with an investment bank. So did that, went back to uni, graduated, met my future wife, I guess.
Yep.
At the time, for 3 years, we were like in different cities, different countries. So I was in London, she was back in Leeds. I was in Leeds, she was in France.
Right.
And then we ended, it was
Made it
was
work.
meant to be. 16 years later almost, and we're still married. So graduated, and then
A lot of our guests have much better moisturizer than me, I have to say. If he's been married 16 years and graduated in 2004.
so it'll be 16 years in September. We've been together for 22 years, which is ridiculous. And 2 kids later, and a dog, of course.
Yeah.
Can't forget a dog.
That's the one that greets you the best when you get home, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't get any love from anyone else. So graduated in 2004, came back to London, moved back in with my parents for a year, which was fun.
Yeah.
And couldn't wait to get out. And then just tried to figure out what I wanted to do, because no one really does. No one really knows what they want to do. So it took me about a year to figure it out, and it was kind of like an IT job, and kind of fell into different things and ended up in security software. And that's what I've been doing pretty much for the last 20 years, working for various software companies specializing in cybersecurity. So selling software, consulting, traveling all over the place, helping customers and resellers understand what the risks are and what the threats are in the world. And it's just evolving so quickly.
Especially with AI advancements, stuff like that.
AI, no one really gets it.
Yeah.
Well, they get it, but they're still learning. Everyone's still learning about AI, and that's a whole different.
I always think to myself, by the time the security software catches up, it's because the problem's already there. And if something is that advanced, it's just going to be able to get you, right? In general terms.
Yeah, I guess one of the biggest problems is the human factor, right? You get an email, click on a link.
Yeah.
You don't know who it's come from. And you can be the most savvy person and the most skilled and knowledgeable person when it comes to security and understanding particular risks. But everyone gets caught out one way or another. So you've got to have lots of different solutions and products, if you want to call it that, to help you overcome the bad guys. They'll get you one way or another. You just got to try and preempt that.
Limiting how they get you, right?
Exactly.
If they have access to your email but nothing else, then all of a sudden that's a better place to be than having access to all your systems, as an example.
Absolutely.
And if you're not a psycho, normally you've got the same password for 2/3 of your stuff, right? So that's a human problem.
Right.
which is why the invention of some of these password and key holders are pretty good, unless you give that password out, in which case you're in real trouble.
But you know what? They've been targeted as well.
Yeah, of
You know,
course.
and will continue to do so. They've always got to try and stay one step ahead of the game. You know.
Yeah.
So
Good stuff. So what does he do for fun? So tell me about that side of things. Fun.
well, most of my time is spent with my kids, if I can.
Is that fun?
Depends what time of the day it is.
How old are your kids?
My daughter will be 12 in October. My son just turned 9 about 3 weeks ago. Oh, a month ago.
So your daughter's going through the high school change.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. So mine turned 17 yesterday. So she's just finished first year college, and
Unbelievable.
change between primary, high, and college is profound.
They grow up so quickly.
Yeah.
So my daughter will be going to secondary school in September.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that.
That's the big one. That's the big change timeline. That first 6 months of that. That's a big shock to the system, I think, for everybody.
For everyone, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, can't wait.
So do you do anything in the background for yourself?
So try and exercise. I used to hate exercise. Still kind of do, but it's so important.
You look trimming. You're looking pretty trim. Yeah.
That stress.
Right, yeah.
Kids.
Yeah.
One way or the other. I try and keep healthy. I try. It's hard. I think that kind of journey started about 3.5 years ago, where I started going to the gym more regularly and trying to work out what I should be eating and being more careful about what I eat, trying to move away from chocolate. Well, I guess I've only just started doing that this year.
Sorry, the first thing I did was offer you
Yeah,
some
you
chocolate
asked me
biscuits, didn't I?
Was it Tim Tam?
Tim Tam, yeah.
I mean, you can't resist.
You
You don't
can't,
see him
no.
very often.
Yeah.
Normally I'd have like a bag of Cadbury's chocolate, any variety.
Yeah.
The chocolate buttons. Literally, I'd just take a whole bag of that, eat it one day, or the Terry's
Giant
orange,
bag,
polish
giant
that
buttons.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd have one a day every day last year. I was like that, and I was like, enough. I've got to put a stop to it. So controlling what I eat, going to the gym regularly, at least twice a week, go running with my friends. Hate running, but it does help.
You see the benefits.
Play tennis. Obviously not when the weather's like it has
So
been.
with the young family, though, it's all regular activity, isn't it? It's the things that you can do around that timeline, right? So, because your hobby is your family at the time.
Keep them active, and it helps you.
Yeah.
So
And I watched a podcast actually for do you know the comedian Russell Kane?
yeah, of course.
Yeah. So if you ever, so he's brilliantly funny. He's got much better over the years as gone by in terms of the advancement of his skill set. But the other Russell, Howard, has a podcast called Wonderbox. And Russell Kane goes on to Wonderbox. And the Wonderbox is a concept where you put in the things in that you love. But he talks about health. And I would recommend anybody listens to that. Because what you don't realize is he is actually one of the most intelligent men like you can think of, right? He's so intelligent when it comes to things. And it comes down to... I don't want to swear what he says, but it comes down to two things: don't eat shit, move a bit. That kind of that's the
two
concept.
key principles.
Yeah, that's the concept. But if you listen to how he articulates, the concept of health, and I would, I just highly recommend it. Right then, so business and career highlights, lowlights. What is it? What is the security sector brought to you? That's you can.
I mean, where do I start? I mean, my whole working career has been pretty much in security software. I've met some unbelievable people. My network has, over the years, and I knew nothing. Obviously, I did a IT degree, computer degree all those years ago, but everything I know is from working.
Yeah, in the real world.
Studying. And I still don't know lots of things. Every day is a constant challenge and learning different things and new things. I guess maybe I'll start with the lowlights. Not knowing certain things and having to, try and pick up the skills as quickly as possible. When you're going in to see a client and they have a significant issue, you've got to try and solve it. How do you do that? You can't do it overnight. It's like a continuous process, and you'll often have to involve lots of different people to achieve what they need to overcome their challenges.
Is this like if a company gets hacked or something like that in their IT system?
Yeah, but also, it's education. I'd say, and I'm going to say this quite a lot over the course of this session, but I'd say one of the biggest highlights is the fact that just being able to educate yourself constantly, learn new things, because certainly in our industry, everything changes so quickly. You have to adapt and evolve to that.
Absolutely.
Just because you've put something in now to try and solve one issue, it's going to change tomorrow, right? And it's having that visibility and knowing what's going on, what your users are doing, who they're sharing information with that they shouldn't be, inadvertently or whatever it might be. That's definitely been the biggest highlight, being able to educate people. I'm not a teacher, but, well, not professionally, but a lot of my working career, I have been teaching people and mentoring people on what they should be doing and how they can improve their security posture, if you will, and how they deploy things and how they can better their working environment and infrastructure when it comes to security. But we're talking about property anyway.
Yeah, no, we're going to be on to the one thing I always think about cybersecurity, it feels too big for me. Do you know what I mean? Like when I think about it,
Yeah,
as an individual person, it feels too big, you know. So, but what is there anything you would give as a free piece of advice to somebody?
Yeah, what's a couple of key things that every small business should do, maybe?
I mean, it's overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
It is. This is why organizations, whether you're large or small, and doesn't matter how many resources you've got, how many employees you've got, focus just on keeping things secure. You're never going to be 100% safe. So if you're doing as much as you can and looking at the right areas and focusing in the right areas, then you'll be okay. And how you overcome anything that is going to come your way. But any kind of like snippets, I would say visibility around users and user behavior, what they're doing, who has access to your data, what kind of applications are being used within the organization that are either sanctioned or authorized or not. It's the stuff that you don't know that you need to be worried about, because a lot of the time IT don't talk to the rest of the organization. Right? That's a massive challenge in itself. Collaboration. If you've got all of these disparate teams within a company not talking, then how's the organization going to operate effectively? And that's a massive issue, because everyone thinks they know the right way. And this is our responsibility. You don't need to be involved. Don't worry. We've got it covered.
Yeah. As a small business owner, I am IT and I am director.
As well as everything else you've got to do, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to, well, you know this from, your power team and all the other
of course.
people that you have to interact with and work with to get that deal over the line, right?
Yeah.
It's exactly the same in an organization, large or small. If you've not got the right team or the right specialists managing these things, then you're going to, get into difficulty. So like I said, understanding what your users are doing, knowing where your data is, knowing, having that overview, that visibility over what's going on across the environment. And more organizations are now using cloud applications, SaaS, to make our lives easier. But at the same time, that whole world's exploded. Right? How do you manage that? How do you keep on top of it? It's overwhelming, as well as all the other risks and all the other your firewalls and your Wi-Fi and all this kind of stuff. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So bring in the right people and collaborate. I'd say that's kind of the biggest takeaway.
Cool.
You can't do everything on your own.
So we'll move on from you as an individual and career and stuff like that.
IT, yeah.
And IT, which I'm sure people are still with us. Don't worry.
Hopefully they're not. Yeah.
It's really important, actually. But so here's the critical question. So the podcast is the Financial Freedom Podcast. But the question is, what is financial freedom to you? And because we believe that it's different things to different people.
Oh, totally. I'm sure this will resonate with a lot of people. I think having that financial freedom, whatever that means for you, in my opinion, it's not having to worry about not having to worry financially, how you're going to pay the bills, how you're going to buy the latest and greatest toy or shoes for your kid, or going on a holiday every now and then, or taking some time out for yourself without always having to work and just hustle And I don't think things are easy for lots and lots of people because of what's going on in the economy, right? Things are getting more expensive. Doesn't matter how much you earn, you're always trying to earn a little bit more, but yet that money goes out the door as soon as you get it, right? So for me, it's just not having to worry and having like a safety net.
Bit of security, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, having that security.
And so so security is one thing, but do you think about retirement? Do you think about what does freedom mean to you? Do you think about those things?
Yeah, more so in the last, I'd say 4 or 5 years when I began this journey. Definitely thinking about not having to work full time for the next 20, 30 years. I think that's so depressing, but some people have a different perception to others when it comes to working. Some people love work, right? And perhaps they don't see themselves as working because they love what they do. I think it comes to a point in someone's life where, do you really want to be doing this? The same thing, day in, day out, until you're 70. And then by that point, maybe your health isn't what it was. Life circumstances have changed. Then what? We retire and it's too late and you can't do what you want anymore. So for me, I want to, I don't want to wait. Yeah. I want to try and, take a little bit of not, I would say a back seat, but slow down, not having to worry about.
But it's good to have a choice, isn't it? It's like you said, it's like, if you've got a good passion and you want to do what you want to do, that's fine. You got the choice to do it. And, but if you don't have the choice, you just have to work that job, don't you, until you're 70 or whatever, because you don't have a choice because you need to pay your bills. Yeah.
You're spot on there, having that choice. And again, the freedom to decide what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it. That's definitely a huge motivator for me. And something I've thought about certainly over the last 4 or 5 years.
So let's talk about that then. What is the big plan and what asset classes are you thinking about that will help you provide that?
Okay, so what is the plan? So I'm 43 now. Again, I might not look it, but I've still got 30 years in me to carry on working. But do I have to work all that time? Probably not. I might change my mind in the next few years, but I want to be able to achieve enough, passive income or side hustles, if you want to call it that, to, replace my day-to-day earning wage or salary.
Yeah.
So I can do other things,
Replace it with what, sorry?
Replace with what?
Yeah, like what's your new income stream going to be to replace it? Or
right,
what
so
is it that you're working
number
on?
of things going on. I guess the top one is the property side, is the property investing, right? I had that light bulb moment back in 2019 where I realized that I've got to make some changes in my life. I loved my job. It was great. I still do. It was fantastic, but I felt burnt out. Yeah. And it was that moment where I had to do something about it. I didn't quite know what at that point, but I had to make a change. There were a lot of other things going on in my life. And
37, 38 at the time?
Like that. It would have been about 37. Yeah. It was towards the end of 2019 when literally I was like working 12, 14 hours a day. I was away from home every other week. Had the kids were a lot
You're
younger
still doing
then.
that though, aren't you? I can see Singapore and
not as much now because everyone works remotely and is happier to stay on a Teams call than actually meet with you face to face. Sometimes it's harder to have a meeting with people because they can't get everyone in the same room. So we'll do it over Teams or Google or whatever. So I had that light bulb moment and then started working out a list of things that I wanted to do. There was no set time frame on that, but I created a list of things that I had to do, both personally, financially, professionally, and I still have that list. I look at it from time to time and tick off what I've been able to do or what I've done.
Yeah.
And this is a list you created then.
Yeah,
in
it was kind of
2019.
like a little list of goals or ambitions or just things I wanted to do. So like last year,
So personal, professional,
Yeah.
and
I didn't
finance and
even
stuff like that.
categorize it.
Just
It was
a general,
just
yeah,
a
yeah.
general list, right? Probably going off topic here. And that's when I realized, right, okay, what's the first thing going to be? How am I going to, how can I earn a bit more money, right? And how can I learn more about property? Obviously, I was a buy-to-let landlord and had been since 2002.
Yeah.
I was kind of managing some family, very small couple of buy-to-let houses for my parents, right, who live abroad. And I was like, do you know what? I can do this. I want to do this. How am I going to do it? All I know is buy-to-let. I didn't know about anything else. So started researching courses, and then I started getting served up Facebook ads all the time.
Yeah.
Standard. Yeah.
Standard, but it was different then. I think the algorithms weren't as mature as they are now.
Yeah, now they're brutal, aren't they?
Yeah. And I was like, right, I'm going to sign myself up to a course or something just to learn, just to educate myself a bit. It took me a year to finally do something about it. Once I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, but it's not always immediate. And then since that moment, my whole life changed completely. My whole outlook, my mindset, everything.
When you 2019 or when you did the
Well,
course?
from 2019, and then I was carrying on with work, and I was just so wrapped up with that and busy and the kids and everything else, just life, right?
Yeah, of course.
And hadn't really done that much research into the right course, because you can do a lot of research and still not do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And eventually, you know what? Right, took a couple of days out, attended this 3-day seminar, if you want, or
What was it?
don't know if you've heard of a guy called Paul Preston, the
Heard the
HMO
name.
guy.
Have you?
Yeah, I've heard of the name.
No, I haven't
Yeah.
heard it.
But I don't know. the person.
Based it around like kind of Peterborough way.
Right.
Saw a Facebook ad from him. I was like, I recognize him. He was actually on TV. He did a TV show about landlords.
Right. Yeah.
Really interesting. Anyway, so signed up for that. And what I thought I knew about property investing and being a landlord was like nothing really.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'd already been a landlord for 14
A long
years, or
time.
however long it was, 12 years, 13, I can't remember. Anyway, a long time. And like I said, it just completely changed my whole outlook on what I wanted to do, how I was going to achieve it, what I needed to do. And kind of 4 years later, so much has changed, which we'll go into over the course of this session. But doing regular exercise, not being scared to talk about what I do and what I want to achieve and how to achieve it. That was always the biggest stumbling block for me, and is for a lot of people. Not kind of being
It moves you out of your comfort zone a bit, doesn't it?
not being told about why you shouldn't do something or not to do it, or that's a risk, why are you doing that? Always having these negative thoughts in my head. And that kind of set me back for years because I was too afraid about what people think. Don't care anymore. Just don't care. And if people have got something bad to say or disparaging, just brush it off. I don't need to talk to you. You're not interested. Surround yourself with people who are like-minded, who want to achieve and do the same things as you. And that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned.
I think the phrase is you're the sum of the 5 people, isn't it?
Yeah,
Some of the 5 people
That you spend
the most time with, or you communicate the most with.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's your family's part of that. But if those other people, I've always thought, if those other people are negative or don't want to move forward, so happy where they are, if you're happy with that, then that's perfect.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to do something, that's going to hold you back.
Why discourage it?
You need
But
to
also
find a group.
The other thing I look at is like, some of these, let's say, family members or friends that give you advice about property, are they in property? Are they experts in it? If they are, then maybe listen to them. If they're not, you definitely, why would you listen to them? You know, you should only really listen to someone giving advice if they know the topic well.
So it's funny you say that, right? So after I attended that 3-day kind of seminar,
Yeah.
I think it was free. Can't remember. If it wasn't, it didn't cost very much. And then on the back of that, I immediately signed up for like a 6-month mentorship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously COVID hit.
Yeah.
But anyway, put yourself out there, tell people what you do, surround yourself with like-minded people, that kind of stuff. And I started posting stuff about property randomly on Facebook, and people were like, why are you doing that? Like, what? Where's this come from? I was like, oh God. It's exactly for this reason why I didn't want to tell people what I was doing, and was very secretive about just about what I'd been doing in the past, and I just didn't care anymore. If you've got nothing positive to say, I'm not interested. I don't need to tell you anymore.
Well, I had that as well, and I just explained to people. I said it's for business purposes, you know, and it's for me to achieve some of these goals I'm trying to achieve for me and my family. Is that, and then
I think one of the things that we talked briefly on before you came on air, right, about one of your recent social posts. So if you went back and told that 2019, 2020 Yoni in 2024, you would post something, and do you want to just? There's different now, right? Because people now will look at you and go, "Oh, this is one of his property things," and they're interested now, rather than, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Who is he? Why is he doing that? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was about 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah,
it was about 2 weeks ago. This is on the back of a recent development that.
Shameless plug.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get onto the case study. That's a specific project.
But
that's all right.
I mean, what a great project that was, and it was just really exciting. The pictures looked great, and it was a real success. So why not highlight it and publicize it? Again, 4 or 5 years ago, if not more, I'd never have thought about doing something like that. Also, I wasn't expecting there to be such a great response. I wasn't. Secretly, I was hoping that I'd get a few comments or a couple of likes, as you do. But yeah, I was blown away.
Yeah,
really.
And in those groups as well, people really want to see people doing well, don't they?
Of course they do.
They celebrate each other's success.
At the same time, you've also got those people like, oh, well, how did he achieve that? And I don't believe it was really as good as he makes out.
Yeah, you do get those people.
You get those little...
Because I think I remember, it might have been this actual post, but someone from London said, oh, their rents aren't right. It should be 700. Like, it's only 700 in London. And I just wrote back and said, no, those are the live rents like that. They are the rents.
Yeah. Which is,
that's... In Manchester. Yeah.
That is annoying, isn't it?
I'm still not doing enough of that, by the way.
And we can play around a lot more with that. So
yeah, well, that's not your day job at the end of the day, isn't it? But it's just... Yeah. It's just a good story, isn't it? That it's because like financial freedom and what it means to people is like you talk quite openly about being burnt out, and then you decided I've got to change something. Something needs to change. And one of the things, the reasons we're doing this podcast is we want people to think about that before that happens. Right? I wasn't that guy. I was where you were. Right? I was probably the same age profile. So feeling that burnt out and I need to change something. So but the earlier you get going, the better, right? With this type of stuff. And, if you'd have told an even younger self to get going sooner, it would have been, the best advice you'd ever received, right?
Of course, but the fact is, you've got to, action. Do it, okay? Don't delay it. And I was putting it off for so long. And again, something else that I heard, a comment, or not a comment, but a phrase: if you don't change, nothing will. Or if nothing changes, nothing will. That was just one of those light bulb moments.
Yeah.
And I've made so many changes in my life since then. It's unbelievable. I was talking about it with my wife.
The world hasn't changed.
The world's changed. Everything's changed. But you can't think about everything else going on outside of your kind of bubble concentrate on yourself. You know, we've got an election coming up, and that will probably change.
It's a good point, actually, because a lot of people, I think you mentioned it before with the economy, there's the wider economy that everyone focuses on, but no one focuses on their economy. Just focus on your own individual economy and what that means, and don't worry so much about the whole economy, because the government can worry about that.
You can only control what you control.
Yeah.
You know? And so, like, as I said, I was having a discussion with my wife, and she's been like just amazing support for me. Amazing. She's amazing. She'd love doing this, by the way, but actually she probably wouldn't. But she likes talking.
We've got a new guest coming up.
She's an unbelievable coach, and has really helped with some of the struggles that I had, and I always suffered with low self-esteem and lack of confidence. And doing what I've been able to do, and surrounding myself with the right people, and building up a network of people that can help me, despite some of the challenges I've had with my property journey. And believe you me, I've had a fair few.
Yeah. Which happens. It's very normal, isn't it? It does happen,
and it's also
there are
good
risks
to publicize those as well on social media, because people like to see what's succeeded, but also they want to see your failures.
Yeah.
You know, but
I agree.
But without making any changes, then you'll just be in a rut, and you won't be happy. And if I hadn't have done anything, then it'd just be the same relentless struggle, work, kids, life. But yeah, so I can't remember what you asked now.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what I asked. What matters is what you say.
But yeah, it was, it's about change. That's right. I remember. Yeah, make that change. If you don't, then nothing will. And
I think that's the thing for me. I've always found you quite an unassuming guy, right? So quite quietly spoken, quite very polite.
Thanks.
So no, but it's that kind of persona really that you it does come across, right?
Mm.
And when you talk about
experience or knowledgeable, like
yeah, absolutely, expert in his field, 100%. But then when you look at the challenges that you're talking about, the social media part and that kind of thing, and like the telling people what I do and things like that, because that's your persona, right? That's your main comfort zone issue, and you went on a course and someone told you to do it, but you took the action, and I think that's a really good learning point for people, because a lot of people fail at that point, but it's no problem if you failed at that point now. Start again. At some point, you get going. At some point, overcome that fear. At some point, just do it. Don't assume what's going to happen, because you can't control what other people think of you. And quite frankly, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was, what other people think of you is none of your business. So just get out there and do it. And do whatever you need to do to move forward. Okay, but which brings on nicely, right, to question 3, which is, what are you most proud of in this journey so far?
Again, I could tell you so many things. Well, I will tell you so many things. What am I most proud of? So again, I was having this discussion with my wife the other day, and I was writing out, because I'm in the process of updating my website.
Right. Yeah.
That stuff.
Is your property company website?
Pardon?
Your property company website?
Yeah. Amongst other things.
Is it your personal brand type website?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. No, we'll have to have a look at it.
It'll still probably take me a year to do, but
I've
got to start somewhere.
5 years. We'll have
Got to start. No. And I just said to her, because I was writing out all the things that I've done over the last 4 years since I started back in 2019. I was like, you know what? I can't believe what I've done.
Investing, you mean, your education stuff, yeah.
So I've been a landlord for a long, long time, but I really didn't know very much. Yes, I was very good with the tenants and finding new tenants and just, the maintenance and dealing with all that. But all the other strategies that I've learned and the people I've met along the way to help me, going outside of London to actually start investing, because for a very long time, I was always told, you know what, when you invest, no, stay within half an hour or an hour of where you live, right? Because if you're going to be managing it, then
then what's the key for that is the question. Like, how do people, what do they need to do to get out of that?
Yeah. And then I stumbled across someone else that I found on social media, who was a remote property investor and been doing it for 6, 7, maybe it was 10 years.
Yeah.
And again, his whole philosophy completely changed my outlook and strategy. I was like, forget London. Yes, it's great, but I could buy one place buy a property in London and not do anything else for the next 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So
Very capital intensive, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And the yields aren't as high and all that kind of stuff. And I spent probably 6 months just focusing on an area about 20 miles up the road from me, or not, actually not even that.
Yeah.
Again, it was a good experience, but I realized that if I want to achieve what I want to achieve, my idea was right. Within 2 years of doing this training, I'll be out the day job. I'll have X number of properties. Job done, right? Yeah, nice and easy. Obviously, COVID hit.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, COVID hit, and
so you nailed that then.
Yeah. And then obviously just to get, I don't know, to get your finances in place, to get to get all the various pieces together in the right order, and making sure that everything was set so I could go out and do what I set to achieve. That took probably 18 months just to do that.
Yeah.
As well as finding the right people that could help me on my journey, because I spent a lot of time going out, trying to find deals, speaking to agents, trying out rent to rent. It wasn't something I'd ever come across before. And everyone's probably thinking, what? How do you not know about rent to rent? I didn't know that's what it was called anyway. I know that's how a lot of people start on their journey. And then learning about purchase lease options and flips, and learning about all the different strategies.
And then it's one of the challenges once you learn all these things.
And then you want to try and do them all.
Yeah, choosing the one to focus on, isn't it? There's so many different things you can do.
So, I did loads of things over that 18-month period. So one, I was trying to get my finances in order. So obviously a couple of flat that I was living in that I bought just before I got married. And I didn't know that this was even possible. Never even considered it before I went on that first training seminar.
Yeah.
How can you get the funds? Yes, you can go to family, you can borrow, you can try and look for investors and all this. I had money tied up in a property, actually in 2 assets.
Equity in there.
I had loads of equity. I was like, that's what started my journey. But I wouldn't have known that had I not educated myself, right? And as a result, 5 properties later, in a space of really, when I properly started was 2022, right?
Yeah.
5 properties later, and I'm probably very, very close to matching my income, my employed income. So back to your original question, I'd say that's what I'm most proud of. But not just that, not just on the financial side, the people I've met, the network, the power team that I've built up, the lawyers, the brokers, you guys. Sorry to plug you again, but you guys.
No, don't be sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you carry on. You carry on. We'll stop you. We'll stop you if it gets too much.
And then once I decided I'm not going to invest in London, I'm going to look further afield. Where'd you start? Right. So I spent probably a good 3-4 months trying to work out, right, what locations, what city. I know you've got a question on this coming up. Well, I think you do. You may decide not to ask me. Maybe not. Where was I going to look for to start investing?
Stop the podcast now. This episode is sponsored by Property Filter. Property Filter is the #1 property tool for today's property professional. It brings in all the data points and sources from all the property portals and auction sites into one convenient place. Then you have the option to overlay all the clever strategies found in the Property Filter blueprint to find motivated sellers faster. Now, we use it on a daily basis. It saves us over 80% of our time when looking for properties. And if that sounds like something that you want in your lives, please go to register.property-filter.co.uk/PPB, which is the discount code for this podcast. You will get 2 weeks free and a discount on your first month. That's it from me. Back to the podcast.
So did you decide to invest in Manchester and then you found us after that? Is that how did it come about?
My first was Leeds.
Right. Yeah.
Because I studied in Leeds.
Yeah, you knew it well.
I knew the city really well, but it's changed so much since I studied there in the last 20 years. So I was like, I'm not so sure. Then I thought about Manchester, but Manchester's like London. It's so vast, right? Yeah. It's not just the city centre. And my in-laws live here. So it was about, who do you know in the location that can help you, right? The location itself, what's it got going for it? what amenities, price points, rent, kind of created a list of different categories and scored them accordingly, right? So Manchester was top. But then after some research, I was like, my God, it's really, the price is just shot up. It's so expensive. What can I realistically do here? Well, I'm not going to be able to do very much. So then I started looking further afield. Other cities up in the northwest. I thought northwest, because I know it pretty well with all the traveling and all the driving up the motorway that I did over the years. And I narrowed it down to 3 cities. So Manchester was one, but then where in Manchester? And then all the other little,
Manchester, aren't there? Yeah.
And all the other little towns, well, not so little, but all the other towns around Manchester, Salford, and I even looked at Eccles, but it was too expensive for me. It was too much. I couldn't really make the financials stretch as far.
Unless you find find the right deal, obviously.
That's right. Unless you find the right deal. And then I looked at Liverpool. Liverpool was actually somewhere that I was going to invest in with my friend.
And you do have some property in Liverpool, don't you?
I do now. Yeah. So Liverpool was somewhere that I was going to invest in with a friend about 20 years ago with a very, very close mate of mine. For one reason or another, we didn't do anything. But I thought, Liverpool's great. I know it. Lots going for it. In terms of my scoring, it was like bang on. So then I was like, well, okay, how am I gonna take this a step further and actually do something and find the right deal? Didn't really know that many people up there. So started making regular visits up there. It's like talking to people, networking, attending PIN meetings, and networking events, and came across someone that could help me find potential properties. She was brilliant, and it kind of went from there. And then explained what my category, what my criteria was at the time, and anything high yielding, a lot of cash flow.
Good
right?
cash
It was
flow.
all about cash flow for me, and stumbled across this derelict. Actually, no, sorry, it wasn't derelict. That was another deal. This rundown terraced house. It was like 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, huge house. The landlord wanted to sell it, had enough, wanted to get it out the market, and then converted it into a full-blown HMO. And then, obviously, with the people that I'd been meeting over the 18 months since I started this journey, came across social housing. And on that list that I wrote out in 2019, one of them was to buy property to give back to a homeless charity or help the homeless in some way. Again, it was just like a one-line thing that I wrote on this piece of paper. I didn't really think much of it. And obviously through the education and the people that I'd met, social housing was an avenue that I could go down. Like, great, fantastic. Social housing provider that wants properties like this. And this property was bang on. The numbers were great. Got like a 20% return on investment on it. Spent about 4 months doing it up. And that was the start. And then found a block of flats that needed development about a year later, and converted that into 6-bedroom flats. And I pretty much did that on my own with no project manager. I did have a project manager, but not a professional project manager. She was my eyes and ears. I don't know if I can name her name or not on this podcast.
Go and do what you want.
Her name was Andrea. And she was just a godsend. Like, when I first decided that Liverpool was going to be my kind of hotspot.
You need the eyes and the ears there, don't you? On the ground.
She did everything. She was phenomenal. Worked her bum off, and had a lot of challenges with the builder or the contractor that I'd used on a previous project. I thought, he can do this, no problem. Well, little did I know that, you need to find the right person that is capable for, the particular project that you have in mind.
Absolutely,
builder is the same. And he talked a good game. And I was like, I could trust him. We got on well. So I thought, I'll give the job to him. And I had the opportunity to take on a proper project manager, but thought, you know what? I don't want to spend the money. I don't need to spend the money. Andrea can do everything for me. And she did. She worked her ass off for 9 months. It all came good, by the way.
You got through it.
We came through it, but we had a lot of challenges with the council, who put a load of roadblocks, had issues with the bridging company because I changed things halfway through the project because I decided there were certain things that we didn't need to do. It wasn't worth it. But overcame it, and that's now operating as a not social housing, serviced accommodation unit for contractors and visitors who come like to watch the football and stuff like that. And got a great valuation on it at the end, so it all worked out. But boy, oh boy,
pain points, right?
Yeah, I remember.
A few challenges.
I've not done
that's
anything
real,
like this before.
It's a good point you raise, well, which is there's a big difference in a builder who might be able to refurb a house to a HMO, and one that could do a block of flats, right?
Yeah, it's the right builder for the right job at the
absolutely.
right price.
That was like one of the biggest lessons I learned. But not only that, so we talk about family, right? Yeah, you talk to your family about what you want to do and when get their advice, and they were like, "No, don't do it. Don't do it. Why there? Why this? This is a risk. Don't do it. We really don't think you should do it. Don't do it. Don't do it." I did it, and I didn't care, because if I'd continued on that path, years prior to that moment, I wouldn't have done it, and probably wouldn't be doing anything, right? Because you listen to your family, and they love you and care for you and don't want you to get into difficulty and trouble.
And it's out of love.
It's out.
They're telling you not to.
Absolutely,
listen, right?
but the more you listen to that, those negative.
They're worried and being defensive, not necessarily giving you the correct advice as such.
I'd done the due diligence. I had my power team. Well, I had my builder. I had Andrea. I had various other people around me to help support. So I knew I could achieve it and get the results I wanted. It wasn't even the time frame. 9 months to do something like that wasn't too bad. Could have done it probably sooner and saved a lot of money had I instructed a project manager, but that was a lesson I learned. But 2 years later, I've got a great property, got money coming in. I don't have the hassle because I know I can trust the people managing it. So it's all good. But, I'm not going to lie, it wasn't hard, but then nothing's easy. And I don't regret it. So again, that's another, back to your original question. What am I proud of? I'm proud of that, as well as a number of other things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to move on, if that's good.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the next question. So the next question is, you've already alluded to a couple of things that you've learned along the way, but what is the best piece of advice you've been given?
Best piece of advice. Education. And I'm not necessarily talking about school.
Education that you want to do is that what you mean?
Yeah. Educate. If there's something you want to do or you want to learn about, you can look at YouTube and you can read books, do whatever it takes that's going to satisfy your need to get to where you want, right? And for me, it was about education. Because if I hadn't have done that first seminar all those years ago, then I wouldn't be where I am now. And of course, I'm learning stuff all the time. My day job, always going on courses and self-development. It's absolutely paramount, right? But education was one of the first things that that I've been given. But there's other things as well that I want to share. Persistence, right? If you're not going to get it right the first time, just keep on plugging away, right? Just keep doing those things that you need to do to get to where you want, if that makes sense. Don't give up. Like I said, I was never good in school, but I always tried. I I was a hard worker, but I got a degree. Okay, great. Lots of people go to universities and do these courses. I didn't learn anything from university. It was all from working hard.
Because you only really fail if you give up, don't you? That's basically what you're saying. Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, on the property side of things, on the investing side and the developments and the projects that I've worked on, especially before I met you guys, I didn't know everything. You learn as you go on, and I could have given up, with the issues that I had. Could have given up, finished it, sold it on, and then stopped right there and then. But no, I knew what my goals were and the objectives, and I was never going to give up. I was going to do whatever it took to achieve that goal. So persistence and never giving up is another thing. And there was another key advice that I picked up along the way, and something I alluded to earlier was change. Change is good, right? And I'd never thought about it before, and it happens so often. I hear from friends or colleagues where they've got an issue, or they're unhappy about something, or they want to do something. Well, if you don't make that change, and if you're not happy about something, so do something different, right?
Yeah.
If you're not happy in your job, go and find another job, or go and do what you are passionate about. So many people
change the
stuck
circumstance
in that rut, and they're too scared about doing something different, or concerned about what people might say or might think, and then they just carry on with life.
It's also getting out of your comfort zone, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like naturally we just want to be safe as people, don't we? Like if you go back to our caveman roots or whatever, we just want to be safe and secure, look after the family, but sometimes you need to get out of that comfort zone to achieve something.
So one of the things I did, what was it? 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. So I was working for a big IT company, and I'd been there for about 5.5 years. Loved the job, loved the company, absolutely loved the people I was working with. But it came to a point where it was just the same every day, same conversations. Same kind of projects.
Yeah.
I was like, do you know what? I've been doing this for so long. At that point, I've been in the industry for 16 years? Can't remember now, right? 15, 16 years, something like that. I need to do something different. And I was always interested about crypto. Again, coming back to your point before about assets and stuff like that, right? In terms of investing and financial freedom. Crypto, that's interesting. Someone had mentioned it to me about 3 years prior to that, just before Bitcoin shot up like majorly. I think it was 2015 or something.
I think everybody wishes they'd bought Bitcoin
whenever it was, right? Now, I dabbled in it. And that was another important lesson that I've learned, or words of advice. Don't just dabble in stuff. If you're going to focus on something, focus on it. Don't dabble in different things, because you're never going to achieve. You're never really going to achieve a decent result. But anyway, having been in the same company for a long time and IT security for ages, I thought, you know what? I need to do something different. I need to get out. And crypto seemed like something really interesting. So I moved into the crypto space for a couple of years, again, whilst doing the property projects. And boy oh boy, was that was that a minefield, because that's a whole different world to security. But and whatever people say, it is the future, whether we like it or not. It's coming. It's definitely coming. And blockchain, for those of you that know what blockchain is and how it can work in all parts of business and industry and process, there is a scenario where blockchain and crypto will come into force. We've not seen anything yet. So just watch this space. So anyway, so I moved into that world for a couple of years to learn and immerse myself in that world, and fascinating. but that didn't quite work out the way I wanted, because I like to be busy. I like to be doing things.
Yeah.
Don't just want to be doing the same thing all the time. So I moved back into the security world, what I know best. But the crypto will always be there in the background. But yeah,
Interesting. So you've just decided on your Liverpool gold mine area.
Yeah.
You've been through the first development, which seems to have gone very swimmingly.
Mm-hmm.
You've then gone to another development, which has caused you some challenges, but
There was
you
one
got through
before
it.
that, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Okay, great. So there's three.
Yeah.
And then you've had the flats one that's caused you pain.
Yeah.
And then we got in touch with each other.
Yeah. I got in touch.
I don't remember how that happened, actually.
Yeah, how did you find us?
It was.
So this is question 5. Why did
18 months ago.
How did you find us, and why did you?
This was the start of last year.
Yeah.
So I was looking for the next project, and it was going to be Liverpool, and it was going to be another block of flats, and it was going to be a lot simpler project than what I had just done, because I was going to instruct a project management. Anyway, for one reason or another, it didn't happen because I don't know, the vendor was asking too much. Anyway, I was on Facebook one day, saw a post, and at that time, I was also quite heavily involved in Property Investment Network, PIN. So it attended quite a lot of, in fact, not just then, but over the last few years, attended a lot of PIN meetings as another way to meet new people and network. I stumbled across one of your posts, and realized that you are a PIN host.
Yeah.
You were.
Still am. Yeah.
Still
at the time of recording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then got in touch, and immediately, even before I actually spoken to you, I could see that you knew what you were doing. Obviously experienced, very experienced. And then obviously we had a chat, and it kind of went from there, really. Obviously I was hoping that you would do more stuff in Liverpool, but didn't quite work out that way. But anyway, there's always time. There's always time. No. And that's kind of where it started, really. 18 months ago.
Yeah.
Time flown.
Well, projects don't happen overnight, do they? Ultimately.
Don't we know it?
So how has it benefited you then, working with us over that timeline?
Right. Great question. Just something that I want to come back to on another comment that you made, because everything I'd done up until that point of speaking to you, I'd pretty much done everything myself. Not looking for opportunities, but also finding people that can look for opportunities for me. Because got day job. So
that you were quite busy doing your property stuff as well as your day job, were you?
Yeah. And the intention was have other people do it for me, right? Find the experts, the specialists to do this work. So how has it benefited me? No stress, no hassle, no real involvement, complete hands off. I think from the project that we worked on here.
You had to raise the money though, didn't you?
Yeah, obviously had to raise the money, of course. But in terms of the actual day-to-day work, I didn't have to worry. I did not have to worry at all, because I knew that the experts were involved and could take care of everything. Even when there was an issue, it didn't bother me, it didn't faze me, because it had all been thought about and planned with contingencies, right? So
what was the issue?
Correct budgeting. I mean, the property itself. We'll get onto the case study, but it was quite
the floor.
It was quite a derelict property. So
on the roof,
we knew there was some partly rotten floor didn't we? Because the floor had caved in a section. But like there was some unforeseen issues as well that like we couldn't even get to see that came up during the.
But you had an idea that it could, and that there could be an issue, and
there always can be in these circumstances until you've done the strip out. There can be some unforeseen issues,
and there were contingencies in place.
Yeah,
and in terms of the financial side of things, that had been worked out because you guys knew what you were doing and had seen it before and understood the potential pitfalls. So it didn't faze me. I wasn't bothered. Obviously, if on the financial side, if we hadn't have calculated something going wrong, not going wrong, but if
so
we hadn't
accurate
calculated
budget in
it,
the first place is your
yeah,
point, isn't it?
absolutely.
It's like
And-
there's a fair contingency. There are things that crop up, and they did, and it was within the budget anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, absolutely. Knowing the area, the knowledge, the detailed, intricate knowledge of the area was pivotal for me. I'd looked at that location previous, not specifically that location,
Yeah,
but
that
a mile
area.
up the road 2 years prior to that. And I discounted it because I thought it was too expensive. Obviously, I wasn't looking for the right deals or
Let's talk about it as a case study then. So, well, first and foremost, we had to do the deal.
Mhm.
So you signed up to us. We're not going to talk about that part because you found us on Facebook. Talked about that.
Yeah.
But we're then looking for the deal. What do you remember of it? I'm interested in what you actually remember. See if I can fill in blanks.
What do I remember about the deal? Oh, okay. That the owner was rather
Eccentric?
interesting
Yeah,
character.
unusual,
eccentric.
eccentric, yeah.
French.
Say that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, French. Yes, yes. She was very nice.
She was lovely.
She was lovely.
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah, really nice lady. Lived with lots of holes in well, everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually just a hole that came in the front of the building, wasn't it? Because they had water issues near the front of the house.
Yeah.
But the
Well,
hole
I remember
was-
walking around with her because she actually showed me around the property.
Yeah.
And she was sorry, she was saying to me because I went into the I wasn't allowed to walk towards the front of the property. Right? So where the front door is,
Yeah.
imagine the front door was on the main road. Right? So the front door, I wasn't allowed to. I had to go in the back door because by the front door was a big hole in the floor. Right. But there was a basement as well, so I went into the basement, checked what was going on, took a video of it, and obviously the floorboards, the floor joist had collapsed. And I remember saying to her, like, how long have you been living like this? You know, like it's been like 18 months or whatever. So she's been living with this collapsed floor in the front. Bearing in mind, these floor joists run across. So if anyone doesn't know, they run across. And if anyone is listening, I'm currently gesticulating to show what a cross looks like, right? But so across the entire floor of the front of the building, right? So where the hole is isn't necessarily the problem. The problem is there was a bedroom next to it with the same floor joists. Just the collapse hadn't been quite as total in that area. But she'd still use that. She was still using that room. And I went into the basement and the floor joist had broken in half, right? It had rotted away. It snapped completely. And it was being held up by what I can only describe as a lintel. Like it was like a little bit of cardboard, just holding up the remainder of the floor. And I said to her, I wouldn't go in there if I was you, you know. And when the agent was in that room, I came out of the basement. He was in that room and went, I would leave that room if I was you and not go in there again. And if you're showing people around, I'd probably not let them in that room either because the joist was from the front across, right? So it's across the whole thing. It's madness. But then she was telling me that it was because there was a grid at the front. I remember this really distinctly. There was a grid at the front and her storm drain from the gutter pushed the water down and the grid's not taking the water away and it's coming through the floor. And I said, oh, show me. She took me around the front of the front. I looked at this grid and I was like, I don't think that's connecting house. And I looked up, massive hole in the wall. There was a hole in the wall that was about 3 foot. Right, it wasn't small.
Yeah.
So it was originally a shop.
It's just coming through the hole, wasn't it?
Originally it was a shop, and it still had the frontage, but it'd been taken off. But it still had the infrastructure of the frontage, but the frontage wasn't there. And she converted it to a dwelling. And behind that frontage, there was just a 3 foot hole.
Yeah.
And I just said, they've got a hole in you. Filled it. I didn't know how else to describe it. And the water was just getting in behind the frontage, through the wall, down the cavity, and into the basement.
Yeah.
She wasn't having any of that. She said, no, it's the drain. I was like, okay.
Of course.
Of course it is, yeah. But anyway, that was funny.
So, yeah, that was an interesting meeting.
Yeah.
Great location.
Yes.
Great location. Was it just outside Article 4?
Just outside of that, literally
the bridge down the road was, currently is the Article 4.
I would say 100 meters away.
Yeah. Great location. And
high rental demand
with loads of potential for development, enhancement, and also the rental the numbers just looked fantastic.
Yeah.
So it was a no-brainer.
Yeah. And for those that know the area, it's a Monton Village, right? So just outside Monton Village. So if you know the area, if you don't know the area, it's where you go if you're the smashed avocado on toast kind of people, right? So if you like that, then that's where you go. That's the kind of area. So it's leafies, canals,
and just for any listeners that are down south or in
nothing wrong with that
country, how much was the purchase price for that one?
We paid 148, 500 to be exact.
Yeah.
Remember it well. Yeah. I guess you want to know what the end value was or how much we spent?
Yeah, you give us the
high level.
Okay, so high level. So we paid just under 150 for it. And we spent, including, because this was bought with a bridging loan and development finance as well. To do all the necessary works, and in the end there was a lot of work, especially with the floor joist, right?
Yeah.
And we wanted it to be high spec.
Do window repairs and roof repairs and spec and stuff.
Yeah, to make sure that it is watertight.
Yeah.
I think we spent about 135, including all the costs. So the actual
furniture contingency,
furniture, high spec finish, which is what we wanted to get the right sort of tenant, to get the right valuation as well. I think that's pretty spot on. And then in terms of the GDV, obviously allowing for some of the funds to be left in the deal, we achieved 370. Obviously we did have some challenges with a certain valuation company at the time.
Yeah.
But that was overcome.
Yeah.
Thanks to you guys.
Yeah. Get on the phone.
And that didn't faze me either, because of the trust and the knowledge that you guys have. So
we have actually recorded I don't know whether it's released before this or after this, but we've recorded a technical one based on finance. We talk about the valuation process and what can happen when things go wrong.
Yeah.
And this went wrong because
it was the unusual circumstance, wasn't it, that the pre-purchase valuation was 370, wasn't it? And then the final valuation, we're expected to get a bit of an uplift because we overachieved on the rents, and they actually the same valuation company, different people though, unfortunately, and then dropped it down to 340 with no real justification. So
they just hadn't allowed. So what tends to happen in that is that there's a general yield for the area.
Yeah.
But they hadn't allowed for the location. The little pocket of location, which that meant that the bricks mortar element of it were better.
Yeah, the residential value
and it's a hybrid. It's a hybrid valuation that you get in, because there is some bricks and mortar element, and then there's the commercial element as well.
But also the individuals weren't even familiar with that particular area anyway.
No, they travelled over because the chap who did it originally was from the area. Yeah. He knew the effect that this little village had, and people. I mean, when I first moved to Manchester back from Leeds, originally from Manchester, but when I moved back, and my employer was previously, when I'd lived in Manchester, with my mum and dad. So when I came back, I didn't really know where to live because I'd always lived in the same place with my mum and dad. And the employer was saying Monton. So it's been that for 20 plus years. It's been the place where, can't class myself as it now, but where the cool kids want to hang out, right? So they hadn't allowed for that effect. And the bricks, it was easy to see because the terrace house down the road was £270,000 as an example. It just sold on the market. So a standard terrace selling at that in that area should tell you in Manchester that's
I knew
that's
someone
high.
that sold a terrace house right in the village of Monton. Like it was about 330 or something like that for just a base terrace. So
and the average base terraced house in the same area a mile down the road is about 190. So they hadn't allowed for this additional. So that was the basis of the appeal.
And it's interesting actually because there are actually quite some big challenges there. A down valuation, quite major structural issues on the property, and you're saying that you weren't really that stressed or worried. So we will take that as a compliment.
No. Honestly, I wasn't, because I knew it would get sorted one way or another. Everything always gets sorted one way or another.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it was that I didn't have to get involved.
Yeah.
Because I had the trust and faith that you guys knew what you were doing and could resolve it. And that's what it comes down to. If you've got the right people on your team, then doesn't matter what challenges you've got or what issues come up. There's always a solution. It's how you navigate.
You got some great rents, right?
Oh, it's phenomenal. I mean, we looked at it. I think we completed on it at the end of July last year, so 2023. Work started on it 3 weeks later. The refurb was finished kind of like end of January of this year.
Yeah.
And in that time, the rents just shot up in such a short amount of time. Unbelievable.
But it actually wasn't the easiest time to rent, was it? Because January is a bit hard, it's a bit slower.
Yeah.
And also there were some other developments nearby that came on the market at a similar time. So, yeah.
Your timing wise, you had 2 new properties.
Yeah.
So we weren't competing just with
it wasn't the easiest renting process.
Brand new ones. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
even though the rents had gone up in the areas, it wasn't the easiest time to do it. But
well, we sound like we didn't do a good job, but we smashed it, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Is like we smashed out the park with the rents and the quality of the tenants. And that's the thing. It's not just about the rent. It's about the quality of the tenant.
Yeah.
Right? So
and the right mix of people.
To try and get good, like the top rent and the top tenant is a difficult mix. But
right.
I mean, they are lovely people. To be fair, the people that live in the property.
I've met them.
Yeah, you haven't. No.
I hear that.
Listen, if I turn up and I get offered a cup of tea by a tenant, I generally think we've nailed this. Yeah, absolutely nailed it, because they've got some politeness about them, right? So yeah.
No, the thing is, if the tenants love living there, then they're going to treat it like their home, and they're going to treat it nicely. And the tenants that I do manage, with the properties I've got in London, I've always ensured that they feel at home and they treat it well, and I've always had long-term tenants, 5-6 years.
Yeah.
So they treat it well, they look after the place, and you have a good relationship, then yes, obviously there's going to be things that come up and issues that you've got to resolve or whatever, but that's just the life of being a landlord. But picking the right tenants is pivotal, 100%. And obviously having an increased rental yield is cream on the top, right?
Yeah. I don't think the rents actually went up in the timeline that you talked about. We definitely achieved higher rents than the appraisal, but that's deliberate. I don't think.
We did we are always a little bit conservative.
Yeah, we appraised it lower.
Yeah,
that's the difference. Is because we all want to appraise it lower because we think that the bridging
we add in a little
surveyor
bit conservative
is going to give us only a certain element, and then at the end we try and push it a bit further. So, but yeah, I mean. Yeah, so I mean, what is it, 745 for some of the rooms?
Yeah,
So and if you're in London, you're probably just falling off your chair, right? So, but no, I mean, in the areas, we are a very popular city. We've grown by 20% population in the last couple of years. There's very few places to live, and if it's a good quality product in a good area, you're onto good, because it's hard to find good quality property. So no, I think you've done really well in terms of like. Trusting us to do the job, because that's a hard thing to do, right? It is hard.
And that what can go wrong as well, because you've been through it, so you're quite experienced.
Kissed a lot of frogs in that 4-year period, right? But I knew after that initial conversation, you guys know what you're doing.
Yeah. And we took some of your family around to the village for a smashed avocado breakfast. Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind visiting this property. I go for breakfast. Yeah. It's a nice cafes. Right.
They got more now.
So question 6 is the previous guest question, but you've alluded to this already. So I don't think we're going to spend too much time on this, because I think you've already answered it. But what we do is we always give the guest a question to leave for somebody else. And this one we gave to you because you're a remote investor in certain locations. So the question is actually, do you believe when investing in properties, you should only pick one city or region, or invest in various different cities around the UK, and why?
How long have you got? I mean, great question. I mean, for a long time, I was always told, no, stick to your location, stick to your area where you live, or not far from where you live, right? Don't look anywhere further than that. How are you going to manage it? If something goes wrong, you're going to have to travel up the motorway for hours on end. You don't know anyone up there. when you have issues, how do you know the location, all that kind of stuff, right? And for a long time, that was my mindset was, no, I'm just going to concentrate on the areas I know best, close to home. So if I do need to get involved, then I can go down there. But because I was a landlord for such a long time, if there was an issue or anything needed doing, get on the phone, call the person to go and fix it, job done, nice and easy. Same would apply if I was having to look for new tenants, when someone was moving out and in and that kind of stuff. But it wasn't until I stumbled on Harvey Andrew, remote property investor who'd been on Facebook for years. Great guy, based in Essex, near Essex Way. Been investing in the Northeast for like 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And his whole mindset was, no, remote property investing, you can do it. You don't need to be in your local area. And I was like, once I'd spoken to him, I realized, you know what? Yeah. Not only can my money go further and I can do more outside of London and in the north, or certainly outside of London anyway. And as long as you've got a trusted network or a power team that can do what needs doing, you've got no issue.
And that's not easy though, right? Because you've spent a long time and a lot of energy coming up, meeting people, networking, talking, probably being sold to by people who are probably not as the right people.
It's really finding the right people to trust, isn't it? I suppose.
So after I spent 18 months going on or attending various masterminds and courses to educate myself, I was also spending a lot of time traveling to various places, talking to lots of different people that were going to find me deals, because I realized, I can do that myself, but I'd rather have someone do it.
It's also a time thing, isn't it?
And it's a time thing, right? And I'd spoken to lots of different people who do similar. Well, no, they don't do similar things.
Rude.
Hence why I decided not to. But traveling up to Liverpool, meeting loads of sourcing agents, and it was all a lot of rubbish. It was just crap.
Yeah.
And there was no trust. Just had this feeling there was no trust there.
Yeah, quite inexperienced,
and
aren't they?
I'd got myself, or almost got myself, into difficulty by working with some companies who were finding me deals, and in the end, you know what, this doesn't feel right. Does not feel right at all. So I backed out, and as a result, that set me back. I would say probably maybe 9 months, almost a year, because I was trying to do. I was like, I want to close a deal, want to get a deal, I want to, start.
Yeah, I remember when we started working, you were really, really eager to go, weren't you?
As of most people you talk to, we've got to wait. What?
Yeah.
No. It was like eager, wanting to get started, because I'd already see COVID happened and no one quite knew what was going on, and that delayed things. And then getting my remortgages in place took probably 4 or 5 months. So all of these delays, I was like, come on, all right? And so went up to Liverpool, met a bunch of agents, didn't trust them, almost got myself into serious issues, and decided no. So then ended up doing a lot of the work myself. So having that trust and having that that team around you that can do the things that he's doing is pivotal. But again, back to your question, I keep kind of sidetracking. I'm sorry.
No, you've answered. So the answer is,
where do you go? Do you go into the north, or I can't remember what the original question was.
Well, is remote investing possible? In summary,
100% is possible. But what is your strategy at the end of the day? What is your goal? What do you want to achieve? And this was something that one of the tax specialists or accountants that I was talking to right at the very beginning, when
it needs to suit the area that you're looking at.
Yeah, when I was structuring the company, back in 2019, 2020, it was like, what is it that you want to do? Well, I want cash flow, right?
Yeah.
Do you want cash flow, or do you want something that is going to appreciate? Well, everything was going to appreciate, right, in the long term, but in the short to medium term, it's all about generating enough cash flow. And sticking to London or the south wasn't going to cut it for me. So I had to venture north. Again, it took me a while to realize that. But at the same time, everyone's different, but remote investing is 100% possible. And once you realize that, then then a lot of good things are going to happen. And also the fact that your money's going to go a lot further.
Do it, but take care.
Yeah. Do it, take care, and ensure more than anything that you've got a team and people that you can trust that can do some or all of the heavy lifting. And I'm not talking about the professionals like your lawyers necessarily or your accountants. They can be anywhere, but people that know the location, know the numbers and the financials, understand how the market works, having a team that can actually do the build or the renovation or whatever is required, in that project. And in terms of the yields and the rentals, well, it's going to be less than it is in the south. That's just the nature of things. But I'd say having the team, and if you've got that, then remote investing is definitely possible, and I would recommend it to anyone, really.
Lovely. All right, so to finish, you get to ask us a question, and that's the whatever.
Just one?
Yeah. Well, you can
Just one.
Or we're gonna be here forever. So
Yeah, true.
Okay. So you go fire away.
Okay. I would say, what would you tell your future self? So say you're 20 years old. What advice? You've asked me what advice I was given, so I'm gonna throw it back at you. What's the most? Yeah, what would you tell your future self? In terms of what they want to do, or what to plan for. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but.
Can I get something up? Because I literally did a Facebook post with the top 10 tips for my 20-year-old self.
Go for it.
Just give me 1 minute and I'll get my my post out and I'll read it out to you.
I'll carry on answering the question then. What would I tell 20-year-old me? Number one, calm down. Probably. You don't have to be the best at everything. Just be really good at a few things. And number two, success in a corporate career doesn't necessitate and equate to success in life. Because, in my family, I've missed out on things because I've been so focused on being the best in my sales environment, getting to the top of the tree, becoming the corporate leader, becoming the board director, becoming the managing director. And I've missed sports days. I've missed parents' evenings. I've missed plays. I've missed, birthdays. I've missed these things, traveling around the world and doing all those kind of things. So the advice to my younger self would be, what you think's important isn't, and start building assets so you can do the things that are. That's what I would say.
Right, I've got the post out now. So
Go for it.
These are the top 10 tips for 20-year-old Tim. Education is number one. Education is extremely important, but educating yourself in the things you want to learn is key. I think we talked about it before. Failures are the best way to learn, so don't be afraid of it. Number 3, start learning how to invest now and then take the action. Number 4, we all have strengths and weaknesses. Don't dwell on the shortcomings. Just team up with others that have the skills that you might not have. Number 5, learn about the power of compound interest. Number 6, you will become the 5 people you spend the most time with, so choose wisely. I think we did touch on that earlier. Number 7, wealth is built over time, so start now. Number 8, your network is your net worth. We talked a lot about networking and building up the contacts. Number 9, if you don't risk anything, you risk everything. So take educated risks. And number 10, karma is a real thing, so always look for a win-win situation and treat others well.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
It's a great question.
Good.
I'd already thought about it a few weeks ago.
There you go.
The thing is, people don't often think about these things, right?
No.
Because when you're young, you've got your whole world in front of you, your whole life in front of you, and it's like, and I didn't know what I really wanted to do. I kind of had an idea.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah, you live for the weekend, and your friends, you want to have fun.
Yeah.
I had no clue. I fell into my job.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I did that work placement during uni, and I was like, yeah, it was great. Maybe I'll go back into this world.
Yeah.
And then did some random things after uni, and I think now it's even harder for grads to find a decent job if they want to work. And you don't have to know at
But
that
there are
age.
endless opportunities.
Yeah,
aren't
there's-
there, for
there's
small
endless
business and stuff
opportunities.
that.
I don't think university is the be all and end all either. I'll be
No,
honest.
I don't either.
Neither of my
No.
neither of mine are going to university.
I like I said, I had a great time at uni.
Yeah, I had a sports degree. How useful is that?
Oh, is that what you did?
Yeah, the sports science.
Yeah.
It's useful.
I mean, luckily,
Is it?
I mean, I did
Sports
construction
physics
management
and stuff?
economics, which
Okay.
is still relevant.
Well, no,
now.
I mean
So,
in that current.
Oh yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
my construction management degree
Yeah,
was
yours
actually
was really
helpful, but the degree itself wasn't actually the best. But it you know, I learned way more in a few months leaving and working.
Well,
than I did at uni, but,
I think
you know,
one of the
it's
things
sort
they don't teach you, because I went
learning.
into the sports environment after university, there's no money in it.
Yeah.
Unless you are an elite athlete, there is no money in it, in leisure or sport. You know, so they don't teach you that. They say, oh, you're good at this, so you go and do that. So I was good at PE, I was good at sports, played for all teams. But yeah. Anyway, I think we're there, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Great.
would you, before we go, do you want to tell people how to get in touch with you if they want to?
Bit of self-promotion.
Yeah, a bit of self-promotion.
Sure.
What the website's going to be called?
Yeah, well, the website's still being built, but finepropertygroup.co.uk. If you want to get in touch, just send me an email. Yoni Fine at finepropertygroup.co.uk.
That's YONI.
That's why it's YONI. It's like Johnny, but with a Y, so you can't really forget that. Yeah. And anyone that
Good
wants to get
stuff.
in touch and
Great to have you
find out a
along.
bit more,
Thanks
let me
very
know.
much.
Thanks for having. Thanks for coming along.
No, thanks. guys.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of that one. Again, if you liked what you saw today and or heard, please get in touch with us via podcast@invest-prop.co.uk. If you want to become a guest, if you think you could add some value, feel free to get in touch and we will have a chat with you. Anything else you want to talk to us about property-wise or anything you've heard about today, we look forward to hearing from you. And we'll look forward to the next one.
Yep.
Take care.
Thanks very much.
Thank you once again for joining us on the Financial Freedom Podcast, sponsored by us at Property Portfolio Building. If you want to get in touch with us about today's podcast or any of the learning topics that we've gone through today, you can email us at podcast@invest-prop.co.uk or get in touch with us with whichever your social media platform of choice is. If you think you would add value to us as a guest on this podcast, you can please get in touch and let us know what you would be able to talk to us about. Other than that, we wish you well on your financial freedom journeys. And once again, thank you for joining us and we'll see you on the next one.